Well, good morning and welcome back. It is March the 14th. And we got a lot on the schedule for today. Gonna try to get my sweet corn planted, my first round of it, and get a couple of different applications of fertilizer out in my peach orchard. The guys should be picking up the peach limbs. Should be finished hopefully by lunchtime, and I'm gonna hop in there right after them and get that fertilizer put out. Okay, first thing on the agenda is we gotta run the do-all ahead of the planter on these beds where I'm gonna plant my sweet corn. That do-all will knock off the top of the row and make a nice seed bed for the planter to run in. So if you saw my video 2 videos ago, you saw that I had a new tool with some double baskets. So I'm gonna try it. Sweet corn right there. Implement 8 row. Alright, we're ready. Okay, you can see obviously the difference in the beds and what it looks like. It's a nice, soft, flat top bed to plant in. Well, that didn't take long, about 5 minutes. That's right at about an acre. All right, it's windy today, and so I can't hardly get out of the wind, and it's probably gonna be worse when we get to the field. Hopefully you can hear me. The little planter I have right here is a Mac 1-row air planter. Runs off the PTO. It has a fan in that housing right there that blows air and creates a vacuum. And depending on what kind of seed you plant, you have a seed disc, and it creates a vacuum and sucks those seed onto that disc, and it singulates them. You can space them however you want them. All right, the fan is in that housing. That black hose provides the air, and it creates a suction in here. The seed falls through the hopper, comes down in here before it goes down to the seed tube. This little clear hose is also air. It goes back to my pressure gauge, which I can see from the cab, and the fan runs off of the PTO there. I have a seed sensor in the seed tube right here that I put in myself, and I have this wire that goes to the cab and a way for me to monitor the seed dropping. I'll show you that when I get up in the cab. Okay, that's where I set my seed depth. We're gonna check it when we get to the field. We want to be at least 2 inches deep, and then my sprockets are right here, and I have my chart with my settings depending on your seed disc and your sprockets, and it gives you the distance between the seed, and I'm shooting for about 7 inches, and that gets it pretty close. And your wheels are your drive wheels, which run your chain, which run your sprockets. Okay, this seed comes in 25,000 seed count bags. I have the attribute insect protection trait, which is going to make it resistant to your corn earworms, and it's also tolerant to glyphosate and glufosinate, which is going to be Roundup and Liberty. The seed is very expensive. For this one bag, it's probably close to $500, and that will do a little bit more than an acre. Okay, I'm stepping away from the tractor a little bit because it's so loud, because I got the fan on now. We're going to look inside that little seed tube. You can see the seed sucked up on that seed disc because that air has provided a vacuum. And if you look in there, you'll see one seed in each hole, and if you see a double, that double will get knocked off by that little singulator tooth. It's hard to see, but that's how it works. This is my little monitor, and what this is it's designed to test your seed sensors in your planter. Like, I can hook this up to this wire and go back there and drop a seed through my seed tube, and it'll beep. And so that tells me that the sensor is working. I use this on my big planter too. I can test it here at the shop to make sure that every one of the rows is working on the sensor. Well, like, this is my planter monitor for my big planter. Well, I don't have a monitor for this little planter. So I rigged this up, and it will beep every time a seed drops through the seed tube in the back. And that lets me know that it's working. Lets me know that there's not a problem with the vacuum, or we haven't run out of seed, or the chain hasn't come off, or anything. Now, it's a little bit annoying because it constantly beeps. And it kind of works backwards. Like with my regular monitor, it beeps when something's wrong. Otherwise, it's silent. But no more than I use this, it's not that big a deal, but it's been a big help in letting me know that everything's working, because obviously you can't see the seed dropping. All right, let's head to the field. Hopefully you can see that, and it was so windy I didn't want to talk while I was out there, but the seed was spaced right at 7 inches apart. Our beds are on 38-inch rows, and like I said, the sack of 25,000 seed is enough to do 1 acre, and I have a little bit left over. The depth, that blue little seed ruler was showing it was about 2¼ inches. Somewhere between 2 and 2½ is fine. It doesn't really beep for every seed because I'm going a little bit faster. If I slowed down, it would be a beep, 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 but because I'm going a little faster, it kind of all runs together. The variety of sweet corn is Remedy. It is a yellow and white, bicolored. I've been planting it for a long time. Everybody loves it that buys corn from me. There's 100 different sweet corn varieties. That's just the one that I pick, and I stick with it. I don't plant more than one variety of sweet corn. We'll plant 3 plantings. and I space them apart to where we try to have a constant supply where it doesn't overlap too much. And I can get pretty close. It might overlap a day or two, but you don't want to overlap because you'll waste some, and then you don't want to skip because then you won't have any. So it's kind of a fine line. But the fact that I can use the herbicides, I really don't ever use the Roundup on my sweet corn fields because it's so close to my plastic field, but I will use the Liberty. It does a good job. It's a lot more safe, especially later on in the season when we're getting close to harvest. We'll come up underneath, and especially after we've been irrigating, we get some weed flushes, and it'll help keep it clean all the way through harvest. Today is the same day that I planted the corn last year, March 14th, and last year it was ready on June the 11th. So that gives you an idea kind of how long we're talking about. It'll vary if it's colder, especially early, or if it's warmer, will make a difference. I will say this, yesterday our local news had 90 degrees for March the 13th, which was a record high. It was hot yesterday. Cloudy today, it's cooler, and it's going to be cooler, not near that hot in the upcoming days, but that was kind of unexpected. I wasn't expecting it to be that hot. Sweet corn is a good seller for us, but it's not one of our main crops. We do 3 1-acre plantings, so I only plant 3 acres a year, but it'll produce a lot of corn. In my opinion, we sell less sweet corn now than we did 20 or 30 years ago. I think it has a lot to do with people just don't put up and freeze corn like they used to. We sell it either in sacks of 50 count or sacks of a dozen count. That's the 2 ways we sell it. We used to sell a lot more of the 50 count sacks. We still do, but not as much as we used to. And people used to just put up and freeze corn year round. And I think a lot of that generation is gone, and maybe the younger generation doesn't do it like they used to. But we have all the corn that we really need. We sell it all. Usually by the 10th of July, we're probably done. Okay, we're finished. You can see that it's way too windy to be spraying, so I'm gonna see what the wind looks like in the morning early and come back and put out my pre-emerge herbicide. I'm definitely not gonna do it today. So I'm gonna switch gears, get back, take the planter off, clean it up, and got my fertilizer at the shop. They delivered it, and we're gonna go get that put out on the peaches. Okay, we got part of my fertilizer already in the buggy. They brought it to me, and then I've got the rest of it in a super bag, which is something different, and I'll show you that here when we get to it. But we're gonna make 2 separate applications to get it all done. Okay, I've got my buggy set at about 3 2/3, which is just a setting for the gate height. You look over here, you know your density, your total pounds per acre. Find that, and that gives you the setting. And it's never works out almost hardly ever exactly, but usually it's pretty close. That's pretty close. There's not much left. We'll just add it in with what we're fixing to do next. What we just did was ammonium sulfate, which is nitrogen source, and Resurge, which is what I've used in some of my previous dry fertilizer applications, and potash. This is 50% of the nitrogen. We'll come back in May and put out another 50%. And then we'll also, pretty much every time we spray, once we get some leaves on the trees, we add in a foliar fertilizer, which is just kind of a general blend of the main NPK and some micronutrients also. Okay, this is my Sulfur Plus. It's in one of these super bags, so I've got to move this out, put my forks in these straps. We'll pick it up and untie it from the bottom and dump it in the buggy. Okay, back to the orchard. That's not the easiest thing in the world to do by yourself, but I got it done. It had a hole in the side that had been duct taped up, and I didn't know it till I picked it up. But I spilled about a couple of big handfuls, and that's about it. So headed back. I told y'all it had cooled off this morning. It's back up to 84 now that the sun's out. This product is 21% calcium and 17% sulfur. It's called Sulfur Plus. And I started using this 3 or 4 years ago on the peach orchard. This is the only place that I use this product, and I just do it one time this time of year. Few blooms popping up in places. Empty, headed back. It was a good day today. I got a lot done by myself. We'll come back in the morning and I'll try to get the sweet corn sprayed if the wind dies down. It's saying it is, but right now it's still pretty strong. So we'll have to see what it's doing in the morning. Well, as y'all can see behind me, it's storming, and it's before daylight here the next morning. I woke up an hour or so ago and it was hailing pretty bad and storming. It was kind of unexpected, sorta. All day yesterday they said probably not gonna get any rain. Last night when I went to bed, they said maybe. And I still wasn't too confident it was gonna rain based off what they were saying, but it is, obviously, and it did. I think we've gotten about 3/4 of an inch so far, and may end up with about an inch before it's over. So that changes my plans on spraying the sweet corn. I'll have to wait a couple of days. Today's Saturday. Right now they're saying we got a whole stretch of all next week of sunny weather. So that's going to push the plastic back too, the plastic laying, probably till towards the end of next week. I was wanting to start Monday. I'm doing some other tillage work, and that's probably going to be pushed back a few days too. So that's farming. It's hard to plan ahead when you think you can do something and then the weather changes and it forces you to do something else. So we'll be fine on the corn. It'll take it 7 to 10 days to come up depending on the temperature. So I just need to get it sprayed before it comes up. So I like to do it before it rains, because it's rain activated, the chemical. If I'd have known for sure it was going to rain, if the wind had died down enough overnight, I would have gone out there in the night and done it, but I've got time. So it's a bad weather day today across the Mid-South and the Southeast. So we were kind of on the edge, and it's kind of developing mostly to the south and east of us and moving east, but we did catch a little bit of it. So I was worried about my greenhouse. I came down here and checked it. It's still not light, but I think we're okay as far as getting holes in the plastic. I didn't see any. The plastic seemed still pretty tight, so I'll look at it better in the daylight. So we're probably going to end the video here because I'm not sure when we'll be back in the field doing something else. So thanks for subscribing. If you have not, please do, and we'll see y'all next time.